Welcome everybody to WWE Aftershock for week 2 of 2024. I'm just going to jump right into the show. I'm flying solo this week because no one was available to do the show, and I wasn't available until... I'm recording this on Monday before Raw, so I really wasn't available up until now to do the show, so let's just get right into it. Yeah, starting with everything that was recorded on Monday, Monday Night Raw and everything like that. We'll start with main event first since it's recorded before Raw. Main event took place on... I didn't write the date down, of course, because sometimes I forget to change the date in my notes. But it was recorded on January 8th, 2024, but it aired on January 10th, 2024. And we had the commentary team of Wade Barrett and Byron Saxton. We had a couple solid matches on main events. Bronson Reed faced Javier Bernal. It was relatively solid. They gave Javier Bernal some hope spots that he could have won, but it wasn't to be. And Bronson Reed beat him with the tsunami, and that was it. And then we had Duke Hudson versus Miles Bourne. This was good stuff, fairly back and forth stuff, but eventually Duke Hudson won with a reverse neck breaker. Main event was pretty average, really not a lot going on, so I'll give that like a C-. Going through Raw, a lot of stuff happened. That took place on January 8th, 2024. We had Wade Barrett and Michael Cole on commentary for it. The biggest thing, obviously, was that CM Punk was going to be on this show. So it opened with Drew McIntyre. He completely cut off Michael Cole and Wade Barrett when they were breaking down the show and everything like that. And Drew McIntyre had been kind of talking about how things haven't been going his way as of late. And he was considering taking time off. But then he kind of started making excuses, talking about how the only reason he didn't win the World Heavyweight Championship is because Damian Priest tried to cash in the briefcase. And he doesn't understand why Damian Priest did that, considering the fact that he could have waited till after the match where Drew was worn down and he had his moment and everything like that. And then Drew kind of mentioned, that he might not need to take time off because he can just take a hiatus and come back in 7 years and everyone will love him again, referencing CM Punk. Which brings out CM Punk. CM Punk wanted Drew McIntyre to talk crap about him in front of him if he was going to do it. And Drew McIntyre kind of gave a very similar speech to what he gave to Randy Orton back in 2020, where he talked about, how CM Punk was a leader, and when he needed a leader, CM Punk didn't act like a leader. So it was kind of the same speech. They even kind of referenced it and everything like that. And, CM Punk talks about how he wasn't anyone's leader, that everybody kind of has to figure stuff out on their own. But he's going to do Drew McIntyre was solid. Because McIntyre also announced his entrance into the Royal Rumble. So CM Punk basically tells Drew McIntyre that, at the end, he's going to leave Drew McIntyre as the last person he's going to eliminate from the Royal Rumble. Really good promo here. Really good back and forth stuff between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. And I'm really enjoying CM Punk's run in WWE so far. A lot of stuff took place with the Judgment Day on this show. I'll just kind of lump it all together. First, we saw Finn Balor face Tommaso Ciampa in a match. They did a really good backstage promo where DIY basically talked about how they want to go after the Undisputed Tag titles. And Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa had a very good back and forth match. I'm pretty sure they had a match back in the black and gold NXT days, but it wasn't as... this one wasn't as good as that, but it was still pretty close to it. Eventually, Ciampa beat Balor with a roll-up. And, DIY get the better of... Judgment Day here. This is a good way to kind of set up a future match between Judgment Day and DIY for the Undisputed Tag title. So this was good stuff. They did a video with R-Truth where it was really funny. It kind of talks about his backstory and why he wants to be in Judgment Day. The video's on WWE's social media account, so I would definitely recommend checking it out because I really can't do it justice. Which turned into a match between... The Miz and JD McDonough, because Judgment Day were backstage. They were kind of talking about how they kind of have to deal with R-Truth and all this type of stuff. So we had this match, and R-Truth was out there kind of in support of Dominic Mysterio, but eventually he had inadvertently kind of ended up costing JD McDonough the match, so The Miz won with the skull crushing finale. This was pretty cool because this was like where The Miz made his debut in WWE. This was like his first wrestling show, so it was kind of cool that, they had him come back here and everything like that. So I liked this. And that was kind of everything they did with the Judgment Day. They are doing a match next week between the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest versus Awesome Truth. I'm wondering how that's going to work, obviously. So I kind of hope they do something where, not necessarily that the match doesn't happen, obviously, but they kind of, book it in a way where the Miz kind of has to fight maybe 2-on-1, and R-Truth's hesitant about saving him and stuff. So overall, I kind of liked everything that they did with the Judgment Day on this episode of Raw. Other things that took place on Raw was Becky Lynch did an interview where she announced her entrant into the Royal Rumble, and later on, Nia Jax did the same thing. She had a face-off with Rhea Ripley, where Rhea Ripley kind of, sent her packing a little bit. I don't think Nia Jax winning the Rumble, but I could see maybe this being the match that Rhea Ripley has at Elimination Chamber. I think they're trying to maybe build up Nia Jax for that. Because, Elimination Chamber's in Australia, and they expect that Rhea Ripley is going to be a fan favorite in Australia since she's from Australia. So that's probably what they're doing here. But overall, I enjoyed the back and forth that Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax had with each other. We had a women's tag team title match that was pretty bland. It was Katana Chance and... Actually, no, we didn't. No, yeah, we did. We did have that this week. That definitely was this week because last week they set the match up. I forgot to put it in my notes for some reason. But it was Katana Chance and Kaden Carter defended the women's tag titles against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. And Katana Chance and Kaden Carter retained the titles in a pretty unexcited match. They screwed up their finish as they typically do. So, yeah. Pretty mediocre stuff there. Then we had a match between Kofi Kingston and Marcel Bartel. Kofi and Marcel fought to a double countout. Afterwards, Marcel Bartel beat him up. He drop kicked his face into the steps, and he was doing this for revenge on Fabian Eichner since Kofi took him out. And he announced basically that Walter's coming back next week. So I could see that being Walter's next IC title program is Kofi versus him. So overall, that was relatively good stuff. No Marcel Bartel. He's going to be out for a little bit, as I predicted. And then Jey Uso got interviewed. He had a little bit of a stare down with Bronson Reed, so it looks like they're going to have a match probably on Raw at some point. I'm not exactly sure when. Maybe the Go Home episode or something. That would be kind of a nice little program for Jey Uso to have. It's somebody that he can beat because he needs to kind of get a big victory because he's had a lot of big losses. We had a match between Otis and Ivar. It was a short little match, pretty good solid stuff. Ivar won with a moonsault, so they're still kind of continuing the push of Ivar, which I'm enjoying so far. Afterwards, you had a little bit of a stare down with Akira Tozawa, so they might set up a match between them next week. No Chad Gable. I don't know where he was, but he wasn't on this show. Then Seth Rollins did a promo where he talked about how he wants to be a fighting champion going into WrestleMania season. So this brought out Jinder Mahal. And Jinder Mahal was talking about how Seth Rollins doesn't represent the people and he doesn't spread his message very well. So eventually it led to Seth and Jinder kind of getting into a little bit of a mix. And Seth went for the stomp and Jinder backed down. So they're going to have a World Heavyweight Championship match next week. Obviously, this has been very big into controversy lately because Tony Khan went on social media and kind of crapped on WWE for giving Jinder Mahal a title shot, even though he hasn't won a match in who knows how long. It's been a while. And everyone's kind of been going after him for that, obviously, because he's not focusing on his own brand, which I agree with. I thought that was pretty laughable. Like, Tony Khan doing this just makes people not interested in AEW because he keeps talking about the other product and not focusing on his product enough. To me, I'm not really that bothered that Jinder Mahal is getting a world title shot because he's been in the spotlight with the promo that he had with The Rock. He's a former WWE champion, and I don't think he's winning the title anyways. And there's also a little bit of a history there between him and Seth Rollins, obviously, because Seth Rollins and him fought in the finals for the NXT title. So it really doesn't bother me. So it's just kind of whatever. I mean, it's a placeholder anyways, so there was no reason for Tony Khan to post this. I don't really understand why he did. It's just really stupid. And then the main event angle was kind of built around Cody Rhodes and Shinsuke Nakamura going at it for the Intercontinental Championship. No, actually, it wasn't for a title. It was just a match. They had a backstage interview earlier with Cody where he got attacked by Nakamura, so they had to be separated. So the match got turned into a street fight. And eventually in that match, after a really great match, it went through 2 commercial breaks. Cody Rhodes won with the Crossroads. Kind of sucks that Nakamura took a loss here. I kind of hope, eventually he can win a feud, because he hasn't won a feud really since he's turned heel. He's had really good work. It's just, not reciprocated in his feuds and everything like that, because he just can't win any of them. But there's no reason for Cody Rhodes to lose right now, obviously, with the road to WrestleMania coming ahead. But that was Raw. Thought Raw was a, very great show. I'm going to give it a B+. I don't think it was quite the A category. I didn't really like the women's tag title match too much. I didn't like Nia's promo. And I didn't really like, obviously, the finish between Kofi and Marcel Bartel. But other than that, everything else was really great on this show. And then we're going to move on to the NXT content, starting with Level Up. I do have to go to my notes for Level Up. I was kind of thinking I could do it without doing that, but I have to go to my notes. This was the 100th episode of Level Up, which is crazy to think they made it to 100 episodes. It's been on the air a little under 2 years. I think it's this week, when you see this video, it's going to be about 2 years. And it's crazy to think that Level Up's been on the air that long. We had the commentary team of Blake Howard and Byron Saxton. No, we didn't have the commentary team. We had the commentary team of Blake Howard and Vic Joseph. No Byron Saxton. I don't know where he was this week. We had 3 matches. We had Joe Coffey versus Tavion Heights. I thought this match was good. Tavion Heights got in a lot of offense, but eventually Joe Coffey won with our best for the bells. This does make sense, obviously, because there's no reason to give Tavion Heights a win right now, but I think he's ready to be incorporated into the main NXT programming, no matter how that is. And then we had the semi-main event. It was, before that, they showed a lot of moments from Level Up. It was just kind of everybody who's appeared on Level Up and has kind of become a big star on NXT/main roster. I mean, this show's still only a couple years old, and no one's made it quite big. I think the person that's made it probably the biggest is probably Zoe Stark. But that's probably about it. Then we had Amali Miller versus Jada Parker. Jada Parker won. I forget how, but she won. I kind of figured this was going to happen because they just started incorporating her to the main NXT programming. And then we had the main event of Level Up, which was Joe Gacy versus Javier Bernal. Obviously, this made sense for it to main event because they've been kind of the 2 standouts of Level Up. They were on the first episode of Level Up, so it made sense that they main evented. Joe Gacy won. I'm really enjoying his new character. I think he should be on NXT every week. They should try to find a way to incorporate him, which they were doing a good job of, but they just didn't incorporate him this week. So, yeah, overall, that was Level Up. I thought Level Up was pretty solid. I'll give that like a C. They definitely treated this like it was like 100th episode, so that was good. Going through NXT, this was kind of the tag team edition of NXT. They kind of showed a lot of love to tag teams. NXT took place on January 9th, 2024. We had the commentary team of Booker T and Vic Joseph. The theme of this show was they were starting the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics. We had a couple of matches in that tournament. The first one was Gallus versus Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. Overall, this was very good. They are definitely doing the oddball tag team with Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. And it does make sense to do this in the Dusty Tag because historically, the thrown together tag teams have always won the breakout tournament, so it made sense to, it makes sense to kind of tell these storylines. And obviously Corbin is kind of cool because he was in the first Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and this is like roughly the 10-year anniversary of the Dusty Tag, because I'm pretty sure actually, no, it's not the 10-year anniversary, because I'm forgetting. It started in 2015, but I remember they did a tag title tournament, like a number one contenders one, like right before Fatal 4-Way in 2014. But I forget that it wasn't the Dusty Tag. It was just a tag tournament. But yeah, this was all very good. They had Corbin and Braun work the baby faces in this match. They were both teams still acted heelish, but they definitely pushed that Braun and Baron were the baby faces. But they both won. They hit their finishers on both guys for the win. Overall, I enjoyed this. Something tells me Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin are gonna win the tournament. But we did find out the other teams in the tournament, because they did a backstage segment, and it's revealed that Ilya Dragunov isn't going to be ready for a while to go defend his NXT championship. So Carmelo Hayes suggested that him and Trick Williams enter the tournament, and eventually, after some convincing, Carmelo Hayes agreed to it. So we find out the other teams in the tournament. We found out that it's going to be. We have the brackets and everything too. So yeah, we had the Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker versus Gallus match. We had Hank Walker and Take Ledger versus Axiom and Nathan Frazer. That also took place on this episode of NXT. We're going to have Chase Shield versus LWO, Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza. And we're going to have Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams versus Adria Sanofi and Malik Blade. I'm not sure what the state of that's going to be, because SmackDown might change that, but I'll get to that when I talk about SmackDown. But the other Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament match was the Axiom and Nathan Frazer versus Hank Ledger and Hank Walker and Take Ledger. I mixed up the names. Good stuff. Pretty back and forth. Eventually, Nathan Frazer and Axiom won. It was a very fast-paced match. So now it's going to be Baron Corbin and Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker versus Axiom and Nathan Frazer. We did find out that the tournament's going to culminate at Vengeance Day. I keep calling it the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, but it's Vengeance Day. So overall, I enjoyed the Dusty Tag Tournament and everything they did with that in the show. We also had an NXT Tag Team title match between Tony D and Stax versus Out the Mud. Very good stuff. Eventually, I wrote her name down actually too. Eventually, Adriana Rizzo interferes and helps prevent the interference from Scripps. So it led to the family retaining, and this led to Jada Parker kind of having a conversation with Out the Mud, and it looks like she's going to be a part of it now to counteract Rizzo's interference. So yeah, overall relatively decent stuff there. No issues. Then they did a match between Blair Davenport and Nikita Lyons. It wasn't very good, but at least the right person won. It was Blair Davenport, so that's something. They had Tiffany Stratton as a ranch hand this week. It's the typical jokes you would expect to see from like a rich girl having to go to work in the ranch life. She had to muck the stalls and everything like that. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. Eventually did kind of lead to her getting embarrassed, so it kind of goes exactly how you think it would. The whole thing of it is on WWE social media pages. You can just watch it there. But overall, it was kind of not the best. Yeah, I don't know if this feud's going to continue either. It kind of seems that way. And then eventually, we had Lyra Valkyria come out to do a promo, and she basically announced that there's going to be a battle royal on the next episode of NXT. But it's not a traditional battle royal. Pretty much how it works is when it gets down to like the last, I think it's 4 or 5 superstars, they're all going to fight amongst each other. and whoever wins that will become the #1 contender. I don't know why they didn't just do a fatal 5-way or fatal 4-way. I don't really like that NXT overcomplicates the battle royals, but whatever. So this led to Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez coming out, and Elektra Lopez acted, as if she could just cash in a contract, and Lyra Valkyria tried to stir the pot between Elektra Lopez and Lola Vice by basically saying, hey, Elektra Lopez isn't going to cash in on the tag title. She looks like she's going to cash in on my title. But it didn't really work. They beat her up 2-1. She was going to cash in the contract, but then Tatum Paxley made the save again. So this is going to be a tag match for this upcoming episode of NXT, which could have already happened by the time you see this. And yeah, overall, that was relatively solid stuff. I can just kind of break this news now. I think Cora Jade was going to win the Battle Royal or whatever this concept is, and she was going to be the #1 contender because obviously that's what they were building to. But during the live events on NXT, she tore her ACL, and she's going to be out of action for 6 to 9 months. I just kind of found out today what the injury actually was, but obviously it had been reported that she was going to be out for a while. So they're probably going to have to change course, obviously. What I think will actually happen now is I think this was going to happen anyways. I think Roxanne Perez is going to now be the one that challenged her, because I think what was going to happen is Roxanne Perez was originally going to probably turn heel and help Cora Jade win the title, and they were going to be a team again. But now that Cora Jade's out of action, they're just going to probably have Roxanne Perez win the Battle Royal, probably just straight out, and then, they're going to just tease a darker path, and then she'll actually turn heel in the match. She'll probably hit Lyra from behind with the title, or use the ropes for leverage or something. So, I don't really think Roxanne Perez should go heel, because I don't really think she needs to. But at the same time, they've just done such a bad job of booking her as a babyface. She kind of doesn't really have a choice. So, it is what it is. They did a segment with Metaphor backstage. They were basically making fun of the breakup between Briggs and Jensen. So Josh Briggs came up, and it kind of turned into a match between Oral Mensa and Josh Briggs, and Josh Briggs just won. So, yeah, there you go. Just kind of continuing to push him as a single star. They're probably building up to a rematch between him and Noam Dar for the Heritage Cup. And then it's on an NXT Anonymous segment where it shows that JC Jane is planning something with Chase U, but we don't know what it is. Kind of whatever. I want to make sure I get everything in here. And then Adrius Enofe and Malik Blade are all excited about their Dusty Tag competition. And then Brenly Reese came up, and they're doing a bodybuilding gimmick with her, pretty much, where she's put her own spin on it. So that was a thing. And then, yeah, the other big thing was they set up a North American title match on the show. During this, Luca Crucifino was complaining to Ava that he should have not lost the tournament because his foot was under the rope when Tavion Heights made the cover. So, they also did something on the show, by the way, too. I want to mention it, that Gallus was backstage with Ridge Holland, and it's going to be a match, and, they kind of had a back and forth, and it's going to turn into a match between Ridge Holland and Joe Coffey this week. But, yeah, so he was complaining, and, Ava said she'll pass the message along, so we're going to probably just get a rematch between Tavion Heights and Luca Crucifino eventually, where hopefully Tavion Heights just beats him again. And then Dragon Lee came up and said that his visa issues have been figured out, and he's looking forward to defending his title again. Lexis Kin accepted the open challenge, so he signed the contract, and later in the night, Oba Femi got interviewed, and he talked about, how he could cash this in whenever he wants. So Lexis Kin comes up and basically kind of throws shade at Oba Femi, basically saying that he could have won the tournament if it wasn't for Trey Bearhill. And then, Oba Femi kind of said, yeah, so this is the North American title match of the main event, kind of teasing we're going to be kind of keeping an eye on the North American title match. So we had the North American title match. Trey Bearhill tried to come out and interfere, but backstage personnel sent him backstage, and then Lexis Kin and Dragon Lee continued the match. Dragon Lee beat him with the standing sea fire, which I forget the name of that move, and then afterwards Obafemi came out and cashed in his contract, so he, you know, got his North American title match, and he beat Dragon Lee. He didn't completely beat him immediately. They did have a little bit of a match, but eventually Obafemi won with a pop-up powerbomb, and he became the new North American champion. Don't know how I feel about this. I would have preferred Dragon Lee to have a little bit more one of a champion, because I just don't really know what else he can really do on SmackDown. Just because, there's really nothing really for him to do at the moment on SmackDown. But, it is what it is. Plus, too, since both champions on SmackDown are part-timers, I thought, it would have made sense to at least have Dragon Lee be the North American champion. That way there's some type of championship they could be kind of fighting over and everything like that. But that wasn't the case. And yeah, I think it's kind of a bit too soon for Obafemi to have the title. I think it would have been nice if he could have held the contract for a little bit, but it seems like WWE just doesn't want to tell the storylines with both people having a contract at the same time. Because obviously, anytime they have the Money in the Bank matches and stuff like that, they get rid of one briefcase pretty quickly. So that's kind of what happened here. I'm kind of sick of that. I'm also just kind of sick of this concept, of cashing the Money in the Bank or like a contract this way. I kind of would prefer, obviously, they kind of do something different, but whatever. Plus, too, I don't really know if Obafemi is the type of performer that should have cashed in this way. It feels like, he would want to kind of do it straight up. So it is what it is. But I think they clearly wanted to do away with main roster people holding NXT championships. Because obviously all the people have kind of lost their titles. I think originally what was going to happen was Wesley was probably going to be in the spot, but because he went out due to a back injury, they threw Dragon Lee in here. I don't know if Wesley would have held the title all that long, but it is what it is. I think Obafemi could be a decent North American champion, though. I think he can have a solid run with it, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But that's pretty much it for NXT. Overall, I thought NXT was fairly good. I'll give it like a B-. I thought the Dusty tag titles and stuff was good. It does kind of feel like NXT is kind of going back to where it was before, the main roster people started showing up, kind of to that, like, NXT stand and deliver level that it was last year, where the shows were mainly bad. This is better than it was last year, but it does kind of feel like we're starting to get back to that, especially, too, with everything that's kind of going on. So I'm not really kind of enjoying that at the moment. Then we had the bump. Overall, the bump was good stuff. This was kind of a real episode of the bump this time around. SmackDown, which took place on January 12th, 2024. We had the commentary team of Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves. Kevin Patrick's doing relatively okay on commentary. Obviously, I think he needs to do a little bit of a better job, because obviously he's meant to be the successor of Michael Cole, and I think he needs to prove he doesn't need Cole, but I still don't think he's at that position yet, but he's not terrible. But I think the experiment isn't a home run at the moment. But yeah, they had a match. But yeah, they were supposed to have a match between Cameron Grimes and Grayson Waller, but then they started showing replays of everything that happened, how the Fatal 4-Way match got set up between Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, LA Knight, and AJ Styles. And then after the video package was done, the Bloodline attacked Cameron Grimes and basically prevented him from being in the match. And the Bloodline was upset because Roman Reigns had to defend his title in the 4-Way, so they were kind of trying to get Nick Aldis to call it off. Nick Aldis refused, and he basically said that, the 4-Way stand and the Bloodline's not going to mess up the main event tonight because they are in the main event. And he was originally going to make it Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Jimmy Uso versus Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight. But it was revealed that Roman Reigns wasn't there, so they were going to have to find a new tag partner. And it led to a so-long storyline, where Paul Heyman tried to find them a partner. He tried to find Carlito, because he returned on this show, but Carlito didn't really want to. And then he tried to, Pretty Deadly kind of tried kissing up to him, thinking that they could both be in it. But when they realized that they only needed one person, they kind of backed out of it last minute. And then he tried to get Bobby Lashley, but Bobby Lashley didn't want to, because if he's going to be standing in the ring with the Bloodline, he wants to, face Roman for the title. I thought it would lead to later on, like, Grayson Waller being the person, since they kind of helped him out a little bit. That way he could take a pin, but that didn't end up being the case. They just did a 2-on-3 handicap match. Eventually, before the match started, it was revealed that they weren't worried because they had a plan. They took out Randy Orton, so it was a traditional tag match. It was LA Knight and AJ Styles versus Solo and Jimmy. And they did some infighting between, AJ Styles and LA Knight, obviously, because of the stuff that's been going on between them since AJ Styles returned when he decked LA Knight in the face and everything like that. But eventually Randy Orton came back. He pinned Jimmy with an RKO, and afterwards, basically, Randy Orton, LA Knight, and AJ Styles were able to put their differences aside to basically take out Solo and Jimmy on this show. And they were kind of doing this, obviously, because they realized that one is for payback, and they realized that this is payback. Well, they realized that Roman Reigns, there's allies, and they're going to probably interfere in the match at payback, at the Royal Rumble. And they're going to have a contract signing next week with all 4 of these guys, so that would be interesting stuff. So overall, relatively good stuff here. I'm kind of interested in what's going to happen with this 4-way match. Obviously a big interesting news site that came out about Roman Reigns recently is everybody was thinking, that they were going to potentially do Roman Reigns versus The Rock at Elimination Chamber so that way Cody could finish his story at WrestleMania. But it looks like things just got a lot more complicated because it's being reported that Roman isn't scheduled to work Elimination Chamber. So obviously this would mean that the Rock and Roman match would either have to happen at WrestleMania or they just have to not even do the match at all and just do Cody versus Roman Reigns. I kind of hope that's a misreport. Or maybe they could just convince Roman Reigns to work Elimination Chamber. Because I don't see why you wouldn't have him work Elimination Chamber. They're going to be in a big stadium and it's win-win because everybody can kind of get what they want out of it. So we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens. A lot of people are throwing out the option, that Roman could just lose the title in the 4-way without being pinned. But, you've come this far with Roman's title reign. He's got to lose the belt one-on-one at this point. So we'll see what happens with that. Other things that took place on SmackDown, they still did something even though Cameron Grimes couldn't compete in the main event of SmackDown. They, had Carmelo Hayes there. He was kind of having like a little bit of a back and forth with Nick Aldis. And Grayson Waller and Austin Theory came in. And I don't even remember what they were there for. They were just kind of bragging about something. So this kind of led to Carmelo Hayes facing Austin Theory in a match. And it was going relatively well, but unfortunately, what they screwed up a Spanish fly. Pretty much when they flipped, you could tell just something went wrong. You could just tell they kind of collided heads if you kind of watch it in slow motion and everything like that. So the referee kind of had to call off the match due to injury. This is kind of the second match that had to be called off recently. Basically, it's only been 2 weeks of the year because day one was the Fabian Eichner injury spot. So at least WWE's taking the proper protocols and just aren't risking injuries. But I think we need to kind of find a way to do these matches a little safer with all wrestling companies too. Just so that way no more injuries happen. But it's revealed they suffered some face contractions or whatever it's called. So I don't know if they're going to be out a while, or if they're just going to if it's just something that they can just rest up from. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, overall, kind of sucks that that's the second match that had to be called off because I imagine Carmelo Hayes was going to win. This was kind of a way to introduce him back to the main roster fans because it's looking like he's being called up sooner than later, which will be kind of weird because he's going to go heel I think pretty soon. So it is what it is. They did a couple segments with Logan Paul and Kevin Owens where they just kind of talked trash about each other. Logan Paul filed a lawsuit to have Kevin Owens not to be able to wear his cast since that's basically a weapon in his hands. And Kevin Owens kind of shot back at Logan Paul a little bit, which is kind of funny, obviously, because, that's the whole reason Logan Paul even won the U.S. title to begin with. But basically it was announced that Logan Paul is going to be on the KO show, the next episode of SmackDown. And then we had LWO versus Angel and Humberto. Santos was on commentary for this. Really liked this match a lot. Very good high-flying action. Eventually, Carlito's music hit, and him and Santos brought into the crowd, and it allowed kind of Raul and Joaquin Wild to get some type of an advantage, but eventually Angel rolled him up and used the ropes. So I still kind of like, because Angel and Humberto needed to win because they really needed to reestablish themselves. But I still kind of like that they got the Carlito bit in there. And now it looks like maybe on the go home episode of SmackDown before the Rumble, or maybe on the kickoff show if they do that this year, we're gonna get maybe these three people having a 6-man with them and all that type of stuff. So that would be good stuff. Pete Dunne was at the coffee shop. He was talking to Tyler Bates, and Tyler Bates basically was telling him that he needed to find his identity, and it's basically implied that he's going to go back to the Pete Dunne name. So I'm looking forward to that. So that was pretty good. And then Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits went on the hunt for Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain, and basically a video message played where it revealed, that they break people mentally and physically, and they're gonna do that to Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, and they called themselves I forget the name of the faction, but I think it's like the Foresight or something like that. It's kind of it's a decent name, but it's not that name. But yeah, good stuff here. Good video package and everything like that. Probably setting up a 6-man at some point. WWE should really kind of consider putting in some 6-man type of titles because they have a lot of 6-man factions on SmackDown, and that way too. You can kind of have SmackDown and Raw be kind of different. Raw can have the tag division, and SmackDown can have like the trios division / 6-man division, whatever they want to call it. So, yeah, interesting to see if they do that. And then the last main thing that took place on SmackDown was the match between Bianca Belair and Bayley. Really wasn't invested in it. I've seen these two wrestle so often that it just is so mute to me now. It's always the same result every time. Bianca wins low. I'm pretty sure Bayley has beaten Bianca Belair before, but ever since Bianca got the big push in 2021, she's always just won. I will kind of give WWE sort of a pass, not much of a pass, just because they don't have a top woman other than Bianca on SmackDown because Charlotte Flair's out due to injury right now. So they kind of have to make do with what they have. But yeah, I'm sick of seeing Bayley and Bianca wrestle each other. But there was a couple of times where Damage Control could have helped Bayley, but they just don't. They could have taken a cheap shot behind the ref's back, but it just doesn't happen. And it's revealed that they did this because they want Bayley to kind of show that she can kind of do this on her own and everything like that, which is not really a great reason. It's obviously going to make more sense when you find out that they've been kind of slowly trying to get her out of the group. But I feel like they kind of did too big of a thing this week because this does seem like something that would make somebody snap, but whatever. I hope this leads to Bayley winning the Rumble. It's probably going to be Becky that ends up winning the Rumble overall, but I think Bayley would be a better option. I think Becky can find another way to get to Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, but they might want to give Becky the Royal Rumble win just because no one has ever won the Royal Rumble twice, and it would kind of reestablish Becky Lynch a little bit because she's been taking a lot of big losses. Maybe they could have Bayley win the Chamber, but I would prefer Bayley win the Rumble. But because Bayley winning the Rumble and punching an inescapable ticket to Io Sky at WrestleMania would make a lot of sense. It would kind of give her a reason to say, "Hey, I'm going to pick you to face at WrestleMania" and everything like that. So let's hope that happens. And that was SmackDown. I thought SmackDown was solid. I'm going to give it a B. I thought the Bianca and Bayley match really dragged the show down. It was a good portion of the show and just wasn't really invested into it. And yeah, that was pretty much the week of WWE. Kind of broke down all the news stories that happened. So yeah, overall, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will say I'm sorry that we've been kind of lacking in content recently. It's just a lot of things have been going on recently. My sleep schedule's been a little off, so I've been trying to get that back under control because there's some videos I really want to do for you guys on both channels, this channel, on the Talkinator channel, and I just got to get my sleep schedule under control because I know Spoke is going to be recorded this week. It's just my sleep schedule's been off, so I haven't really been watching AEW or anything like that. I've seen World's End and everything like that, but it's just been a little rough. So yeah, I'm gonna work on getting my sleep schedule back under control, so that way I can produce more content for you guys. But other than that, that's pretty much it, guys. And since this is being recorded in the past, I will talk to you guys in the future.
Brock, we inmates. You just dropped the